Okay, so here we are with our next installment of the Trinity Catechism class. We have made it to questions 70 and 71. So we're turning to the seventh commandment. And question 70 is this: what is the seventh commandment? The seventh commandment is, you shall not commit adultery. All right, we're going to define what adultery is soon, but let's read question 71, and it begins to define what adultery is for us. What does the seventh commandment require? The seventh commandment requires us and everyone else to keep sexually pure in heart, speech, and action. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about adultery. I'm going to leave the details to your parents. They can get into this as explicitly as they would like. But there's a famous example of adultery in the scriptures that you know about. And I'm going to read that passage, 2 Samuel chapter 11. Then it happened in the spring, at the time when kings go out to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, and they destroyed the sons of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David stayed at Jerusalem. Now, when evening came, David arose from his bed and walked around on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof, he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful in appearance. So David sent and inquired about the woman, and one said, "Is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite?" David sent messengers and took her, and when she came to him, he lay with her. And when she had purified herself from her uncleanness, she returned to her house. The woman conceived, and she sent and told David and said, "I am pregnant." So that's an example of adultery. David was a married man, and Bathsheba was married to Uriah. And yet David went and took her, and he had sexual relations with her, and they had a baby together. God says no to adultery. In fact, God says no to multiple wives and polygamy. And David had multiplied wives, and that was in and of itself adultery. God says in the beginning that we are to have one wife or one husband. And so having more than one is a violation of this seventh commandment. And so you can very easily memorize question 70, you shall not commit adultery. But then notice what 71 says. What does the seventh commandment require? The seventh commandment requires us and everyone else to keep sexually pure in heart, in speech, and action. So, in heart, we are not to think lustful thoughts. We are not to give ourselves over to looking at images on the computer that are bad. We are, with our speech, we're not supposed to talk um, of intimate things between a husband and a wife explicitly. We're to be discreet and modest. And then, certainly, in action, you are to keep yourself sexually pure through your actions. So, this is very important for us to remember, and it's very important for us to meditate on this. There are so many ways in which our culture pushes us to be sexually impure, pushes us to think upon committing adultery all the time. You'll see it in movies, you'll see it in TV shows, you'll see it in commercials, and yet God says, no, you shall not commit adultery. We are to be pure in our thoughts, pure in our speech, and pure in our actions. So keep going, memorize these questions, and send me videos as some of you have done. It's very encouraging to see you reciting the catechism. So keep up the good work.